What would you do in this situation? You had to get to a loved one, but the power's out, and guess what? Your electric vehicle is not working. It's been shut down by, and whatever it may have been, cyber attack and an attack. What are those things called where they shut all the
electric magnetic pulse?
So we're going to talk about that later. But first, what we're going to do, and thank you to Doug for making that cool short film intro for us.
Wow.
What we're going to do is actually share how this has been happening in real life over the course of this last week in a specific country with a specific line of cars. So I'm going to pull this up. This is thetruthaboutcars.com. Russian Porsches have stopped working. Digital security vulnerabilities faulted. So this started last Friday and was happening over a series of days. And this article says hundreds of Porsche models sold in Russia have mysteriously shut down. Reports from within the country, backed by countless angry posts online, have claimed that the vehicles now refuse to start. So for some people, they just got out to their car and it didn't turn on. Other owners literally got locked out, like their vehicle shut down and locked up on them, lost power while they were actually operating it, refused to start back up. Some people have been stranded for days. And this outage has affected all Porsche models and engine types built since 2013. So this is thousands and thousands of cars. And they've all of these models have been fitted with the brand's factory VTS satellite security unit. So was this a national reaching cyber attack, or maybe just a mistake? Or is this actually a political attack? There's that option as well. And we'll see who Moscow is blaming as well as we get into this. But the Moscow Times claims this issue stems from the Porsche vehicle tracking system. That's the most likely scenario, but we're going to look at some of the other ones. It's essentially what it is it's like it's similar to OnStar, right? It's an anti-theft onboard system. It typically includes satellite-based vehicle tracking and some form of immobilizer that's tied to a card or mobile device possessed by the vehicle's owner. So the vehicle has this capability of locking itself up, becoming immobile, but it's only supposed to do that in certain circumstances when it's getting stolen, theft is occurring, all that kind of stuff. It's not supposed to happen when the owner's trying to drive to work or drive to get a cup of coffee. Here's another article. Russian Porsche owners' cars are immobilized across the country with deliberate satellite interference feared. Deliberate satellite interference feared. So we've got all these people with electric vehicles nowadays, which if you own an electric vehicle, props to you. I'm not against electric vehicles, but there are certain issues that can arise when your vehicle and all of its functions are attached to a satellite, and potentially there could be an electric signal kill switch that somebody sends from the manufacturer. And in some cases, I'm going to show you how sometimes it can come from a foreign country. Even now, that issue has already arisen before. Sources in Moscow say the company, talking about Porsche, which is owned by Volkswagen, does not rule out that the malfunction may have been caused deliberately, with suspicions cast towards the West. Now, that's Moscow, so they're probably trying to play a political angle on this, saying that. But many people have feared that a covert Western satellite attack operation has taken place, and that's coming from voices in Russia. Now, obviously, a lot of it is probably political again. But here's the official Porsche representative in Russia, what they have to say. They said it is not known whether the problem lies in the impact of electronic warfare measures or a signal from the manufacturer. So here's some images of people's these are actual Porsches that are not working currently in Russia. Here's a guy that did a video talking about it and saying,
wait, they shut off and they didn't come back on, period? Or
okay, so exactly what happened is some of the vehicles I'm going to give you the fix. Okay, this is the fix that was suggested. Some drivers were told to try to simply do a workaround by disconnecting their car batteries for at least 10 hours. And for some people that worked. It turned back on, rebooted, and it actually started. Others were advised, when that didn't work, they were advised to disable or reboot the vehicle tracking system known as a VTS, which is linked to the alarm module. So there are literally reports online now of Russians resorting to homebrew, like DIY YouTube answer, the homebrew fixes, where they're literally ripping out connectors from their own cars to try to dismantle the alarm module so that they can actually bypass it and get it on. Others have not been able, even with that, they've not been able to get it to work. And they've had to take it into a dealer and so to a mechanic and say, can you fix my car? Can you start it back up?
Yeah. I was going to say, there's probably some mechanics taking advantage of this situation and being like, hey, we can remove the tractor thing for you, whatever it's called.
Exactly. So one guy, Alexander, 31 years old, he's a Porsche owner from St. Petersburg, said his Porsche simply died outside of a pizzeria. He said, I picked up my order, got back in. That was it. The car wouldn't start. He complained. So I guess it's been wow. Yeah, it's been a different story for different people depending on where they were when their car stopped working. A lot of people probably sitting out in front of their house and they got out there in the morning and it just wasn't working. But
sure.
I mean, imagine being just stranded somewhere and not being able to go. Imagine if that's your only vehicle and all of a sudden there's no way to turn it on. Right. You know?
Yeah, boss, I'm going to be late. A satellite went out and my car won't start. I promise.
I promise.
Excuses.
So a couple similar problems have also been occurring with Mercedes-Benz vehicles in Russia. Some Audi and Volkswagen models were also, other Volkswagen models were also hit. So obviously, the Volkswagen Group owns Porsche. It owns the Porsche brand, and it actually announced. So this is interesting. They actually announced the suspending deliveries of elite machines to Russia after the start of Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. So they said, we're not doing any more Porsche in Russia because they're attacking Ukraine. Now, this was a couple of years back. So this is interesting, right? Because it's like there is a political thing there. Obviously, Germany is not happy with Russia right now. You know, Volkswagen apparently not happy about selling Porsches in Russia. But the problem is they were unable to sell off all three of their Moscow-based subsidiaries. So they tried to pull completely out and they were unable to do that. So here's the top comment on this X post right here. Some corporate executive pulled a kill switch on customer cars based on their own political beliefs. Great work. He just killed the brand. So they're essentially saying if it is a political thing, that was a pretty stupid move and they're going to hurt their own brand. So let me know y'all's initial thoughts on this story, and then we're going to jump into some of the other like more serious issues when it comes to countries being able to shut down electric vehicles in other countries, but also some of the other insane shutdown stories, like massive across the board shutdown stories we've seen already when it comes to specifically electronic vehicles. And then we're going to jump into discussing what would you do if you woke up, you had to get somewhere to help someone an hour away and you can't turn your car on. We're going to get into that discussion. But what are y'all's thoughts on this story when it comes to Porsche? People waking up and their Porsche is not working in Russia.
I've got one real quick thought, which is just that I know we're talking a little bit about electric vehicles, it seems like, but I was, reading through the articles I can find on this, and it looks like this problem goes back to even 2013 models, and it's not just electric vehicles. It's based on the fact that this car has, like you said, a alarm system built in that's like if your car gets stolen, it'll just stop working. So it has a built-in kill switch for security reasons because it's a high, it's a really high-tech, high-model car or whatever. And so it's not specifically an electric vehicle problem. It's the fact that the vehicle has electric components, very hardwired into it that were keeping it potentially from being stolen. But now it backfired because it's based on, satellite, like you said, like the on-call or whatever, satellite thing being like tracking your car.
That's a very good distinction and I'm kind of crossing my wires here by calling all vehicles with electrical components electric vehicles, which is not
I just wanted to make that distinction because it could be an issue in the future, not just for people who are like, well, I don't have an electric car, so this could never happen to me. It's like, well, does your car...
The distinction is these are vehicles that are connected to the internet via satellite in one way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, is your car connected and tracked, by the manufacturer for security reasons? Because if so, then you're gonna have the same problem. Potentially, that's a kill switch, either intentionally waiting to happen, or like maybe like the Russians are saying, somebody hacked into the satellite and made this happen for political reasons. So I wanted to make that distinction.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're going to be, unless you have a diesel or an older vehicle, you require electricity to start your vehicle. Like there's, even if it's a turnkey and not a push button. But
not all cars are connected to the satellite system, right? Like not all they're not all connected, to some sort of internet kill switch potentiality.
But I would say if you look at go to a new car lot and find one that does not have an option to add OnStar support or add
New
some
car.
sort of push button.
Oh yeah. New cars, absolutely.
System. And
my cars didn't come with that, but
well, yeah, I mean, but even if you don't activate it, it's still there. And I think that there was a law under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that Biden's regime did that actually was requiring new passenger vehicles manufactured after 2026 be equipped with an advanced drunk and impaired driving prevention technology that basically passively monitors the driver so it can limit vehicle operation if impairment is detected. And by impairment, I think what it means is if somebody doesn't want you to drive it, then they can. That's at some point what it would mean. But it's absurd. There's also a no kill switches in cars act that came back to there's a proposed repeal for that. But to me, this is just not. It's kind of shocking, but not surprising, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's shocking to see this actually happening, and it's on one model. But you know what? Hey, it happened here. Now it can happen more often. Now they can make more accidents happen, and then it can just become normal. And then we'll start to see. Turns out you actually went over your carbon footprint for the month, so your car is not going to work till next month anyway. So
we're going to get into that. That's actually one of my examples. We'll get into that in a second. Doug, what are your thoughts? And then we're going to jump into some of the serious issues that a few nations have been having.
My first instinct is to think that actually, funny enough, I did just buy a vehicle recently. So, and it had.
Did yours come with the kill switch? Did you have it added on?
It's
like get $2,000 more for the kill switch, please.
No, it's $2,000 off if you allow the government kill switch to be installed.
No, it's funny because it had
little
Star Guard, and if anybody knows me well enough, I was like, no, I don't want that garbage on there. Take it out, and they were like, we can't take it out. And so then my question becomes,
well,
can it? So I don't have to engage it, right? I don't have to actually turn it on, but it's in the vehicle. So can it still be? Is my vehicle still susceptible? And that's my first instinct, and I don't know if that question is really answerable because I don't know if we have that kind of information about how this all works. But then also, I wanted to point out there's a distinction between the more modern vehicles that have electricity that are connected to the internet versus the older vehicles that still obviously use electricity but aren't connected to the internet. So we're talking EMP can take out at all, but the new vehicles are more susceptible to hacking. That's like the big problem here. And hacking isn't as cinematic and sensational as you might think it is. It's really, from what I understand, not actually that difficult to hack into a car. If it has Wi-Fi, it can be hacked, basically. Like that's kind of like bottom line. So,
well, I mean, we just saw it here. Like whether you consider this to be hacking or if it was just a accident,
malfunction.
These cars were just hacked, and it's going all the way back to 2013. So if you're connected to the internet or the satellite system, and that's there's something that can control your car in some way, then obviously there's a potential for that for sure.
And the more things you have like that in your car, like the smarter your car is, the more controllable it is.
Sure. All right. Well, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor, and then we're going to get into some of the major issues a few countries have been having. Investing can be confusing and scary, but it doesn't have to be. Genesis Gold Group takes the guessing out of the game and guides you on your gold investment journey. We at Filibusted love the genius design of the Prepper Bar, which breaks up into sections, kind of like a chocolate bar. But if you prefer high security insured gold storage, they have that too. And unlike Fort Knox, the gold is actually there, 100% owned by you. So don't wait to get started. Visit filibustedgold.com today for a free investment guide from Genesis Gold Group. So this was last year. The United Kingdom was warned that Beijing could remotely stop electric cars manufactured in China as relations between the two nations deteriorated. Chinese-made electric cars in UK could be jammed remotely by Beijing. That's pretty bad. Okay.
This is why we don't want our enemies making our stuff.
Right.
Well, ban all imports from China, please.
But China wouldn't do that, right? Well, let's look at what happened the year before that. In 2023, Chinese spy device found hidden in British government car. They don't have any, there's no boundaries. There's no right and wrong. It's just, we're going to do whatever we can do. So absolutely they would do that if they wanted to, or if they needed to. It's just crazy. So this is crazy, but China's having its own problems. Okay, this is one out of many. I just picked a few stories. Also, AI gave me an idea for a story that wasn't even true, and I went down that rabbit hole for a while, and then looked it up and said, "I think you're wrong about this." And it said, "Oh yeah, you're right. I made that up."
I made that up. Lovely.
But these stories are real.
Discipline.
So this is China. This is China from 2022. State grid reduces EV charging power during peak hours in some parts of China amid power crunch. So this was during very hot weather, and they were having power outage issues, and the power is being used way too much. And so essentially what they did was they said, okay, in some places you can only charge your electric vehicles at certain times of the day. And in other places, what they did was they essentially gave them a coupon. They said, we're going to let you charge for a lot less if you charge during a certain time of the day. So it was more of an incentive-based thing. But for other people, apparently one of the things I read was there were literally indicators popping up saying you're not allowed to charge your vehicle right now. So that's kind of crazy. That's a pretty big problem. Now, I did not find like a severe example of this happening where it's like nobody can charge their electric vehicle. So I don't think that has taken place yet, but obviously there's the potentiality of it. Here's another problem. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm glad you're talking about the vehicles, but we did, I think I did an episode on my podcast about how China rogue communication devices have actually been found in Chinese-made solar inverters that enable remote shutdowns in the U.S. And those are in power grids, and they undercut a lot of the pricing here, so they get their technology in the power grids here, and that is already in the U.S. in the power grid, not just your vehicles, but actual power grids. And it happens to be they get a lot of those jobs that nobody else wants out in the middle of nowhere by military bases. So interesting topic for another episode.
Right. Well, no, I think that's great. I mean, that's a great connection because this is just one example of if the power's not available, how are you going to run your car, right? If you're not able to charge it. Here's another one. China is betting on battery swaps to tackle EV charger shortage. So they actually have a shortage of places to charge. So they've started this new technology where they literally just swap the batteries out. Here's another one here. Toyota suspends all Japan factory operations after suspected cyber attack. So Toyota actually completely, I think they canceled 13,000 cars or something like that. It was they cut the production of 13,000 cars. This was back in February of 2022. And they thought it was a cyber attack. So it was one of the chips that they were using, one of the computer boards they were using for these vehicles that was going into them. And there was something wrong with the factory or the system that was doing that. And that got quote unquote hacked or cyber attacked. And so then they just said, no, it's not worth it. But later, this is 2023, what happened to shut down Toyota's production in Japan? They explained they don't think it was a cyber attack after all, but rather a system update error. So they literally pulled out completely production-wise in Japan because of a system update error. So just another example of, the more technology put into a vehicle, the more potential problems there are. Now, obviously, this is on the production side. Japan had their own problem with here we go. This is my last one. Toyota. Data on more than 2 million vehicles in Japan were at risk in decade-long breach. So this was a cloud-based connected telematics service to the vehicles, right? And this is Toyota. And it exposed sensitive data for about 2.15 million customers in Japan. And this included vehicle identification numbers, location data based on where their car was driving, and usage logs. And so all of that got exposed online. And so the car told the internet, which told everybody in the world, where you were for the last 10 years based on your vehicle usage. And not good.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy.
At this point, I think maybe we need an EMP attack. Just wipe everything out.
Just wipe it clean. Yeah. Oh man. It's interesting to hear about the factories, because like I worked in a large production factory with, large vehicles going down the line and 100 people on the line, and every single person and every single bolt that's put on, literally you put it on, you have a quality check. It's a wireless communication between that wrench and the system that communicates that torque was the right amount of torque. So you talk about needing wireless communication. Every single bolt, they would shut down that factory if you couldn't use that. So I mean, that's pretty advanced, but like I'm sure these car factories are the same. So I don't know. That's just crazy.
That is crazy. So any thoughts on this before we move on to our question of the day?
I think maybe I'm not sure if I'm pushing back. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing, but I just kind of wanted to throw out, the idea, of course, because Doug threw.
Jeez.
Doug said something about we should need an EMP to like wipe everything out. I think it's kind of like, I think we're at the precipice of, when it comes to technological adoption, that's like you kind of have two choices right now. You can either go with the way things are going, which is everything is becoming more connected, via the internet and wireless connections and all these kinds of things, which opens up for the potential for control. Like we talked about, like, control, or somebody can shut off your vehicle if they want to, and all those kinds of things. Now, thankfully, we've had as far as like the main reasons people wanted to shut off your vehicle has been like climate change stuff. And we have seen a major shift recently where people are woken up, and governments have had to start, realizing like, yeah, we can't do this green thing anymore. And, like, I'm not saying it's 180. It's not 180. I'm sure Germany's still pretty bad, but there's been a movement recently in the right direction. People are like, actually,
people aren't buying it anymore.
We can't ruin our futures based off of what really is a hoax.
You see Bill Gates abandon that talking point, something's going on.
Yes. Yeah. With Bill Gates abandoning, saying like, actually, no, it's not going to cause the extinction of humanity. That was huge. That was massive.
Bill Gates said, well, I can't make any more money
their...
off of this, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll move on.
Everybody was so well informed on that argument that they just quickly pivoted also. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Well,
Anyways,
that's how it works. You didn't know that?
I just back to my point though. I'm just saying that we go the route of, yeah, this is going to happen and there's no way around it. And how do we prevent the threats from occurring? And how do we make this as safe as possible? And how do we make, maybe it, what's it called? Where instead of things being centralized, it's a little more decentralized. So it works and it's connected, but yet there's still some sort of personal safety in place where there can't be autonomy. A kill switch. So like the legislation that passed recently, the no kill switches in cars, that's a step in the right direction. So it's kind of the question of, is there a way to move towards the future and try to just protect and mitigate the risks and the damages as much as possible? Or do we all go get ourselves a 1950s vehicle, throw away our cell phone, and go live in the woods?
Yeah.
It's kind of, I'm saying that like, but people do that. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, the future, of my family is we're going to move off grid and live in the woods, and I kind of like, I'm wrestling with myself of which direction do we take this?
That's a great question, Reese. And I think that you can apply the same concept to like the monetary system, everything too, with moving into digital currency. It's all the same. Like, do you go full bore like into this, hoping that there's some sort of, like you said, decentralized, autonomous version of that, rather than a utopian / dystopian socialist version that we were heading towards? Or do you just go revert completely? Like we're in a weird middle ground point right now where we're all having to make that decision on what direction we want to take. And because we can't see the future, it's hard to make that decision.
Yeah. I think, to me, like the UK's problem with, the cars made in China, I think Chinese made electric cars in the UK could be jammed remotely by Beijing. I think, to me, that like signals at least like the bare minimum that's necessary moving forward, which is like buying technology from producers that we actually trust, and countries we actually trust, and at the bare minimum. Now, and I mean, I could see technology going two different ways, like, I mean, both ways at the same time. Like, you can get the most connected, most high tech, most advanced version, and it's the latest thing. It's like the latest iPhone or whatever, and then you can get the basic version that I think that industry is going to be growing and exploding on the side while people are still moving forward with the latest technology. I think we're going to see more disconnected vehicles as long as the regulations allow it. I think we're going to see more stuff that's, do you want your car not connected to the internet? Well, here you go. We've got one company's making it, one company's doing it, and then they realized everybody wanted it, or not everybody, but there's a niche that wants it. And so then there's competition. I think that industry is going to explode.
Is it going to be like organic foods though, where they charge you more for not doing the thing to the product?
Yes. They are going to charge you more.
Such a good example.
It's the same as It's the same as a dumb phone now. Now, all the companies stopped making dumb phones. All the big companies stopped offering the dumb phones,
so
or
now
like the old flip phones. But then new companies popped up and started making them again, but they charge you more for it, right?
Right.
And so more than you would have paid before. So, but it's that same concept. Is there's a market for it because there's a group of people that really want that. You know, I don't want the latest iPhone or whatever. I don't want the latest, you know, maybe electric vehicle or just like internet vehicle or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, something that's connected to that, Troy, is we mentioned the cell phone thing. It made me think of, I saw recently somebody is trying to make an open source cell phone, because there's lots of open source software that you could make to run on a cell phone, but most people are not going to buy some kind of cell phone like an Apple or Android and like jailbreak it and then move the operating system over to, you know, Linux. So somebody's trying to make a cell phone that you just buy and you don't have to be a computer whiz, and it runs all on open source. And the advantage of the open source, of course, is that you can, you know, there's a whole community that's basically monitoring exactly what is in your cell phone and at all times, that kind of thing. So if there is, you know, it makes it a lot harder for a company like Apple, for instance, to just kind of slip in some serious, you know, tracking, like, yeah, we're tracking you and listening to your conversations all the time and selling it to advertisers, or giving that information to the government. Now it's harder to slip that in when everything is open source, because people can just read the code and see like what's really happening. So I could see what you're talking about. I could see there, you know, if it's allowed, as long as it's not shut down, I could see there being a, you know, a market essentially for open source cars. If everything is going towards like super technology and super connected all the time, then it's like, again, maybe there's a decentralized open source, you know, alternative to these things, where it's like, there's just more transparency, to where it's not like, well, I bought one of the 3 or 4 cars on the market that's the most high tech, and oh, by the way, like eventually all that information ends up going to the government, so the government knows where I'm driving at all times, and maybe
and we've even seen
throw a kill switch in there at any point, you know, that kind of thing.
I've even seen, like, from a cell phone perspective, it's not even just the government gets it directly. Like, they can buy it off a third market. Like, anybody can go buy the data from your cell phone, from the group's people's cell phones, and they can buy that. And there's other phones I've already seen that come out that block data, data transfer or whatever. So these apps can't take information off your phone. And so all these apps, and you can still download the Apple Store or Google Store or whatever. But I just think, you know, I don't know. It's crazy now. We need a digital bill of rights. And I mean, there's all kinds of problems that are kind of coming to a head here.
It's a lot of work, and most people aren't willing to do it or know how, because some of it's pretty complex. Like, I have just about everything I can possibly have shut down on my phone that I know of, you know, but I'm sure it's still tracking me. It's still listening to me in some way, even though I've got all the things turned off. It's really difficult to keep up with all of it.
I just really think with the rise of AI, you know, and us, what we're doing is we're trying to, unfortunately, move our infrastructure over to being monitored and managed by AI as well. It's like we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot by connecting our most useful tools in our life, like our vehicles, to transport ourselves from one place to another, to the internet. Because it's like, if you do have an AI takeover, if you do have something like that, you know, which is not out of the question now, even according to the CEOs of all of the AI companies, who have all admitted that that's a possibility. You know, it's like, then, okay, why did we set ourselves up for failure from the get-go, you know, instead of putting some safety measures in place, you know, just in the basic functionality of these tools. So I want to move over, since we're about halfway through this episode now, I want to move over into that question. So Doug, could you set us up with the question that you asked? And we played a little short film at the beginning of this episode, so y'all go back and watch that if you missed it. But yeah, Doug, let us know what question we're answering today.
Yeah, let me pull it up over here real quick. I had it popped out and I didn't realize it. So, okay. So the big question is, and the video set us up for this because it gave us the right vibe, the right mood. Okay. So it's the apocalypse, one way or the other, you know, end of the world, in some way. An EMP just hit, grandma needs help, and your car won't start. What do you do? And I want everybody to think about this. So we're going to answer this from our perspectives here on the show, but I want you guys watching to answer this too. Like, what do you do in that scenario where the car doesn't start, but somebody who lives, 45 minutes to an hour away driving time needs your help, and you care enough, and you've got to figure out what's your next step. So what do you do? You guys have an answer for that?
I can give you my first thought went to, okay, childcare, because me and my wife have 5 kids, right? So I was like, what other adult lives very close to my house that we could get together and be like, okay, we're going to put all our kids in one house, and then we're going to leave some of the adults there watching the children, taking care of them, and we're going to some of the adults are going to go to the rescue and try to go get whoever we need to get, So that was my first thought, was like that. I would do that. And then you would see me biking. I'd be getting the bikes out. You see me biking, maybe with a sled or something behind me. I don't know. Like I haven't thought beyond that, but
you have a sled here in Texas?
I would resort to the bike.
Yeah, you need a sled if you're gonna transport somebody from a hospital. Because the idea was, of course, you got to get your loved one out of the hospital because the power's gone down or whatever.
That's right.
Bicycle.
Well,
you gotta have a sled if you're going to transport somebody out of a hospital and get them back to the house. For sure.
This is a complicated problem without having to go help somebody 45 minutes away. And so, we're because if that wasn't the case, I would say go ahead and turn all the water on and get all the water into every jug you have in your house so that you will have clean water, and get that going. Then grab your Faraday bag, get your new laptop out that still works, and you're good thing I had a Faraday garage, so my truck still starts.
A Faraday garage.
I don't know what that is.
A Faraday bag. What's that?
The conspiracy theory about the lead paint thing. Anything about that?
No, I don't know about the Reese. A Faraday bag is something that blocks all wireless signals. So if an EMP hit, anything inside the bag, like a laptop or a cell phone, that would still work. But obviously the cell phone wouldn't if it was not if it was hooked to these.
I did just search EMP blockers earlier, which is something I know nothing about, but that's where I was like, is it possible that I could just, like, in the future when this happens, I just go full prepper mode and like everything is somehow connected to an EMP blocker and somehow that protects my vehicle, but probably not likely. I'm not much
I'd go out and start counting my jugs of water and go make sure I still had that $100,000 of cash and make sure all the gold that I bought from Filibusted Gold is still good to go, Genesis Gold, and I'd be checking all that and making sure that I had all the canned foods and everything's still in line and everything's good to go. Yeah.
Here's a thought.
I've got the real answer.
Don't come to my house don't come to my house if there's an EMP. None of that is real. I just made that up.
Hold on, though. I got to interrupt, Ryan. I love your answer, but the question was, this happens tomorrow morning. That's the thing. Like, do you have that kind of preparation?
Well, then I say, good thing I've been listening to Doug's Conspiracy Corner for the last year and a half. Because I'm ready. Let's go. No, I'm not. No. Yeah, I don't know. I think the bicycle is the must, but I think you probably got to find some way to defend yourself on the bicycle because people are going to want your bicycle. Probably
machetes.
So yeah, that's probably grabbing some kitchen knives.
So here's my thought:
just get along lance. You could do like the jousting.
We're getting super practical here.
Jousting on a bicycle. That'll work great.
It takes about 14 hours to walk 45 miles if you're walking at 3.2 miles per hour. So my thought is, we are so established at our home, and obviously there's a lot of security that comes with that and familiarity and all that kind of stuff. But if you lose all electricity and all ability, to use your vehicles and transport and all cell phone use, communication, if all that's gone, then it's like, what matters more? Is it like being home or is it like getting to the loved one? So it's like, maybe it would be a case of everybody get on your bike or everybody would start walking. We're going to walk for 14 hours straight till we get there, or we're all going to migrate on our bikes and go, and help the person. So I don't know, like that's a thought. It's difficult though, because if you have someone even closer, then the thought is like, are they going? And if they're going, maybe I don't have to. I don't know.
Well, then how do you even find out if there was an EMP? How would you even know if there? I mean, unless you get your walkie-talkies out of your Faraday bags, and start talking.
All right, I got the real answer here. I don't know if you guys have seen the the documentary of when the world got invaded by aliens and Tom Cruise saved the day. But there was a 2005 film, War of the Worlds, which I do know was originally a book written back in the
future facing there.
1800s. Yeah, so in the 2000 film, that's like the first thing I thought of was I was like, oh, an EMP that takes out all the vehicles and no one can drive anymore. I was like, what does that sound like? Oh, it sounds like that 2005 Tom Cruise movie. So in War of the Worlds, the aliens do an EMP and no one can drive cars anymore because all of the circuit boards or whatever have been fried. And I think I'm pretty sure Tom Cruise just uses his Scientology powers to fix a car and it just works for the rest of the movie. I think that's what he does. Maybe no, actually in the movie, he has a mechanic friend who's like, oh no, all the cars everyone's cars have shut down. And Tom Cruise is like the only guy who's smart enough to be like, have you tried replacing, oh gosh, I had it pulled up.
The flux capacitor. I think that's what you're looking for.
It's not the flux capacitor. I don't know anything about cars. The solenoid. He's like he's like the solenoid, which has like a bat or like a magnet or something. I know nothing about cars. And so he's like, oh, just replace the solenoid. And then the mechanic does it. And then later, Tom Cruise and his family is driving that car, which of course they eventually get stolen from like a mob of people because they're like the only car that works in the United States. But I'm thinking about that. I feel like there's some holes now where I'm like, nobody else figured out that you could just replace like one of the fried pieces of the car and then you could drive it. I'm thinking about this movie now more than I am this. But the problem, of course, is from what I found from people online, they're saying like if an EMP happened, it would probably in modern cars, it would fry a lot more. And so it'd be harder to replace, but not impossible because anything that wasn't connected or currently on might not actually get affected by the EMP potentially. I think your best bet would honestly be to like hope that you have a mechanic friend who lives somewhere in the city and go find them and then like raid the shut down auto parts store and then see if you can jerry rig that thing. It works in War of the World, so maybe it would work in real life. I think that would be your best bet.
But you also that's why you need to keep a full tank of gas because you're not going to be pumping gas from an electric motor at a gas station and filling your car up. I would say, unless
it's only gonna last for so long.
Yeah. But I would say that's why I carry solenoids in my Faraday bag. So I got 3 extra ones there. So I mean, it's no big deal.
I don't even know what a solenoid is.
I'm really prepared, guys. Yeah.
I actually do have a mechanic friend that lives a couple houses down the road from me, so that would be. I'm prepared.
Tom Cruise lives a couple houses down from me, so I'm good. He can just turn his car back on with his Scientology powers, and then we're good to go.
We're joking about this Faraday bag thing, but I know somebody, like I've met somebody that actually has a Faraday bag with a laptop that has like manuals on it that how to do all this stuff, how to grow food, how to do all. I mean, it's just manuals on how to fix things, how to do all. And I'm like, what? Like, how much? Just can you like copy and paste that? I'll take one, like. And he's always adding stuff to it. He's got like an extra laptop in there that's never been turned on. Like. Dude's not messing around.
That is pretty intense. So does he have an electrical source too, like some sort of off the grid?
Yeah, like a solar power source. Yeah.
The solar panels that die eventually that you have to replace.
I don't know that. Yeah, it's not from China because your backup plan didn't work very well. So
hopefully you find a way to live without electricity when your solar panels die after 50 years or whatever it is, 30 years.
Yeah.
I think that in the case of it's tricky because I want to be helpful to my relatives or whatever, but fortunately for me, in a funny way, I guess it's ironic and unfortunate at the same time. If I were to be in that scenario, most of my family doesn't really live around here. I just have a handful of people who live here, so it's like a lot of my family lives so far away that it's like, well, I wouldn't be able to do anything anyway, so I'm just gonna hunker down. But then the family who is here is close enough. We could figure it out, but within a short time frame, trying to help somebody that is really not going to make it very long if you don't, and all the things stop working. That's a hard choice to make.
You're talking about food in your fridge that's going to go bad. It is everything. Yeah. I saw some video a few weeks ago about like what happens like day 1, day 2, day 7, day 15. Yeah. It's like Geez, there's a lot of things I didn't think about.
Yeah, but you know that like, obviously that it could go south and keep going that direction. It could get worse and worse. But if something like that did happen, you know that people would be working really hard to try to get things back online, whatever that may look like. So that would be interesting. That'd be an interesting study to do. Like, how would we actually get communication back, you know, after something like that took place? You know, like what would be the steps to do that? And just to see, does the government have some sort of like procedure or plan, you know, if that were to ever happen? That would be
the Golden Dome.
The Golden Dome?
The Golden Dome. Well, that's more of a defense.
Is that what it's
called? The Trump Dome. I don't know what.
Yeah, I know we're doing a dome, but I can't remember what it's called. But that's not going to protect against EMP attacks, though, right? That's just rockets.
There was one for rockets. I feel like there was one for other. There was like something that was like satellite based. For, you know, I might be making stuff up here. I need to look this up.
That's okay.
Definitely, we had the rocket one was a potential that Trump floated, but there might have been more. We got to have something once. I mean, the Trump administration wants us to be the leading edge for AI. So once we have like an AI god built, the government's going to need some way to try to protect that AI from EMPs or solar flare. We're talking about like EMPs and things, but you know, a solar flare that's big enough could also just wipe out all the entire electric grid. And
if we're dependent on that system, which is kind of what it seems like we're heading toward, then that's going to be real bad if we don't have the protections in place to make sure that system maintains itself and is not doesn't have any weak spots for an attack of that kind. Because I keep thinking of the movie that we talked about it earlier, the Leave the World Behind, and I know that it's like the Obama's movie or whatever, but I think that it was Truth and Fiction. The Obamas produced it. They're like partial producers of it. Yeah, sorry, I saw the look on your face, Reese.
I don't know what this movie is.
It's a weird Netflix movie with Julia Roberts and I don't remember who else. But it's an end of the world kind of movie, and the big idea behind it is it starts out with just the internet shutting off. It's not even the power, and with just the internet shutting off, you can kind of see how the world falls apart, or at least the U.S. completely falls apart and is not functional. And then towards the end of the movie, or later on in the movie, the whole power grid shuts down too, and it gets real crazy. But it's kind of it's an odd movie. There's like some things that happen with the animals and stuff like that too. I don't even know, but it's a little bit of truth and fiction, and it's almost a little bit too realistic. When you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, I do think this is how this would go down, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a bit of an optimist too, though, because I always think like humans have survived and built civilizations, you know, for thousands of years before we had before electricity was invented. I'm sure every every physicist out there is probably shaking their fists at me. I know electricity has always
existed. Or discovered, whatever you want to.
Before electricity was harnessed, and you know, especially before the internet. I think, if I'm not wrong, I think Bill Gore. What's his name? Bill Gates. Who invented the internet? Al Gore. Okay, so Al Gore. Al Gore, I don't think invented the internet until sometime in the 1900s. So I'm pretty sure that humans.
That's why Lincoln said
we could revert back. We could go back to chopping wood and carrying water.
Well, we could go back to that, but the fallout, though, that's what we're talking about. The fallout of this, because
I know, but once you get through the fallout, once you
what do you mean? Once you get through the fallout, like, yeah. You know,
like,
no big deal. Like,
are you part of are you part of the 6% of the population that made it through the fallout? Well, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. Right. Okay. How do you make fire again? Let's see.
Yeah. Speaking of which, my wife has been prepping this last week by learning how to make fires, and so we have a fireplace in our house. We don't use it very often, but we got a bunch of wood, and she was like, "Can I make a fire in here?" And I was like, "Sure." And then I came home to the house filled with smoke. It was like 2 days ago. The whole house was filled with smoke, and I was like, "Something's on fire."
Maybe we
run into the house, and I'm like, "Something's on fire," and I'm running around trying to figure out what's going on. And I look over at the fire in the fireplace is roaring, and the flue is completely shut.
I thought you were going to say, this is an electric fireplace. There's no chimney here. You're not supposed to build a real fire. This is
There is a chimney, but it was as if there was not one. And the entire house, and I was like, and the kids are just sitting there watching a show. in the smoke. And I'm like, everybody get out of the house right now. Like open the flue, push everybody out.
But the shows are just so good. They're addicting, you know. They're so good. Oh, that's funny.
They were watching AI produced slop and just couldn't take their eyes off of it.
Oh my goodness. Eyes were getting a little dry there. Yeah. That's
my gosh.
Man.
So our house still smells insanely like smoke. And so
still?
Yes. Oh, still, yes. Yeah. I'm thinking about taking up smoking just so I'll fit in. Let's see.
Yeah. Maybe you'll notice it less when you walk in your own house if you come in smelling like it. Yeah. That's a good idea.
You could get away with it, that's for sure. If you've ever wanted to try, now's the time.
Oh my gosh. No one will be able to tell the difference.
Like,
right.
No, it's too late for that.
Oh man. Yep.
Wow.
I was thinking like we could burn some candles, but I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna help. Like to get over the smell. More smoke to get rid of the smoke smell. I don't think so. Anyway.
Dissipate it. Open the windows.
I think we've beaten that answer to death, and I don't actually know what I would do, but it wouldn't be fun, probably.
No, it would not be. No, it would not be.
All right. Well, I think that's the episode. Great job, y'all. Good conversation. Thank y'all for joining us. We had fun. If you missed the informational part of this, go watch the first third of the second half was more for fun discussion, but all the information's up front. And thank y'all for joining us, and we will see you next time. Gold is not just a backup plan if the world falls apart. It's an investment opportunity that could set you up for generations. There's never really a bad time to invest in gold, but you want to make sure you have the right guide. And that is where Genesis Gold Group shines. Whether you are a first-time buyer or a seasoned investor, their trusted expertise and competitive pricing makes them an easy choice. They offer tangible assets in case of emergencies, but they can also design the perfect IRA just for you. And they'll even cut through all that confusing red tape from the IRS. We at Filibusted love the genius design of the Prepper Bar, which breaks up into sections like a chocolate bar. But if you prefer a more high-security insured gold storage, they have that too. And unlike Fort Knox, the gold is actually there and 100% owned by you. Genesis Gold Group is a safe, simple, and convenient way to invest. Visit filibustedgold.com today for your free investment guide from Genesis Gold Group.